Welcome to part 4 of your bootcamp for Google Drive. This section focuses on Google Drawing. My name is Mrs. Bomey. I am an English teacher and the yearbook advisor, and I'm going to be your guide through this section. We're going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to do this. You can work along with me, and if at any point you need to pause the video or rewind, please do so. Let's start over in Google Drive. I'm going to go to my shared folder and find that folder that I made in part 1 of this series for my English teacher and open that up so that all the work that I make will be located in this one fixed location. Now that I'm inside my folder, I can come to the plus sign, and you'll notice that it's only docs, sheets, and slides. So come down to more, and it should pop up for you. And then we want to pick this red icon with the circle and the square for Google Drawing and say create and share. It's asking me to share because my folder is shared with my English teacher. In this case, I picked Mr. Capargo as my English teacher. And then I get this element. Now, all of this is just background. If you're familiar working with PNG files or something like that, you may be familiar with this alternating grid look, which indicates a transparency. So what we put on top will show, and then whenever you see that little grid, it would come through as nothing being there. I have my basic controls here that you're used to seeing. We can insert images and text boxes. We can format things once we get something. We'll do a little arranging. And of course, there's always the help menu. You have your your undo button. And if you undo something you didn't want to, you've got your redo here. When you are finished, one of the options you always have is to download your item, perhaps as a PDF or an image file, or even as a PNG file or SVG scalable vector graphic, which they all have different applications. You're going to want to find out particularly what your teacher wants you to do. We're going to use the insert value in our bootcamp practice document to put the drawing we make here into that document so you can turn it in. So let's go ahead and give it a name. And I'm going to say Bootcamp Jones Joe. And I don't need to say any more about that because it's going to have this little icon next to it, so I'm going to know that it's a drawing. There's no reason to call it Bootcamp Drawing necessarily. I have some items that I can play with, and I suggest that you just get in and play. Here's a line that I made. Now that I have this line, some other options popped up for me. I can change my line color. I'm going to make it red. Oh, made another line that I don't want, so I'll just hit delete. I can come back and select this original line. This is my line, but this is the space that it's taking up with the handlers, and I can adjust it. I can also change the thickness of the line, make it significantly thicker if I'd like, and I can change the position of it if I'd like it to be a line like that. If I added a couple of additional lines, just by clicking and letting go, now I've got something, approximating a triangle. I can add text to it. I'm going to put my text right here and say, this is a triangle. It's defaulting to that boring Arial font, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. And I'm going to change the color of my text. And of course, I could put a background on it if I wanted, like that. I can also right-click on my page and go over here to background and pick a color that's going to be filling in everything. Now, I don't have that transparency anymore, but I do have a great background to work with. That one's a little bit bright for my purposes. Let's see if we can tone that down. Okay, so I have this pale purple background. I can bring in an image. So I'll upload from the computer and I'll go back to the pictures that I had for my slideshow. And I will pull up this image This is from a Flipgrid that I had to do for one of my teacher trainings, and this was my image. There's my initials right there. I could also, of course, bring in something that I could search for on the web. I want to find a hedgehog cake. Sure, that sounds good. Oh, that's cute. That's a whole family. I don't feel really good, though, about slicing through a cake shaped like an animal, so let me back out of that and just see what I get for hedgehog. There's a real example of one. There's one in your hand. Probably not the best practice with a wild animal, but I'm going to bring this one in. And there it comes. Okay, so I've got that picture, which of course, let me get rid of this text box that I put in. You can grab my image, and if it's too large, then I can just shrink it up a little bit like that. Additionally, I could add comments into this if I needed to. I want to check if this image is free use because I don't know if I'm allowed to use it in my work. So before I turn it in, I want to check on that. I could also replace this image by pulling from a camera or another source. And here I can crop something. So let me scoot away. This is the image that I have. And if I change these, it's going to scale it and make it look wonky and weird. So I'm going to do Command Z or Control Z to get out of that. I can, however, use this cropping option. And using these little black handlers, I can change, whoops, didn't do that right. I can change what I want showing. So I'm trying to get rid of all of that white. There we go. Now I have it in a way that I'm happier with. Good news is your original image is still there, so if you double click on it, you can pull that back out. Also, I can add in, go back to my text here, I can add in a link. It's offering me a couple of things, but I want to search for something else. Oh, okay, here's some information about triangles. Let's check it out. How about just the Wikipedia page on triangles? Okay, that looks interesting. I think I'm going to find that useful. So I'm going to go back to my drawing, and for my link here, I will paste that URL in, and now someone will be able to link to that. If I wanted to share my drawing with someone else besides my English teacher, because I've already shared it with Mr. T by putting it in our shared folder, I would need to add that person by name, or I can change my settings down here, but I don't want to do any of that, and I'm going to say done. Okay, so now I have my drawing, and it feels good to go. I'm going to go back to my Google Drive and go to my bootcamp practice document that we've been working in. And if you'll recall, down toward the bottom, under your table, we had our sample drawing. So I'm going to click here and go down. Now, it's a little hard to see. Sometimes you feel like stuff is missing. Well, the reason is I've been typing in yellow for this word sample drawing, and I hit a return. So my text is continuing in yellow, and that's pretty hard for me to see. So I'm going to put it back to black so I can see that cursor really well. And now I am going to come up here, and I am going to say Insert Drawing from Drive. And there's my gorgeous drawing. That's the one I want. I will select it. I can insert it unlinked, or I can link to the source and only editors will be able to do it. I'm going to insert it unlinked. Now my drawing has come in. You'll notice it pushed way far down though, because it's too big to fit in the space that I had available. So I'm going to click on it and scale it down. Now it's like all the other images that we've worked with. in that it has these three controls where I can wrap text around it. I'm going to make it small, put it in there like that, and there's my drawing. I've completed this portion of my Google Drive training, and you can go on and complete the other sections 2, 4, and 5 so that you have everything done. Thank you for joining us.